Good evening to A Conversation with C.W. Smith. I'm Jane Albritton, and we're here to talk screenwriting.
Well, the country music was optioned by Playboy Productions back in '75, and I went out to L.A. and spent several interesting periods out there working on an adaptation of it. And I learned a lot. I learned that it was good money, and that there was a lot of aggravation to it also. But so I wrote 3 versions of the script, and it was never made into a movie, but a lot of interesting things happened along the way.
Can't you make a lot of money selling options, like developers going broke along the way and you resell it?
That's just simply a separate deal from being a writer. I mean, I could have had options on the book and did have options on the book without ever trying my hand at being a screenwriter. And so, you know, having been a screenwriter, I have to say that I'm a screenwriter whose movie has never been produced. So I'm an unproduced screenwriter.
I see.
I did write a couple more original screenplays and you know, several dozen treatments, trying to cash in on this sudden burst of enthusiasm I had on this. I think I was driven back to being a novelist, both because I didn't have much success as a screenwriter and because I think my heart really lies in that kind of narrative. You know, screenwriting is very interesting, and it has a lot you can learn about dramatic structure and arranging scenes and trying to find that single small clear line that cuts through a story. And I think it helped my writing because I think the first novel, Thin Men of Haddam, is sort of circumlocuted in a very Faulknerian way, and it was on purpose. But I think after that book, and after I'd had some experience with trying to write screenplays, I felt that I felt a greater need myself to be able to tell a story in a more straightforward fashion. And I think trying to write a screenplay really helped me do that.
Well, I was going to ask you about that. The Thin Men of Haddam is a very interior, cerebral sort of novel, and I was wondering how that would work on screen. But by the time you're at the Vestal Virgin Room, that's much more visual in terms of the activity.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think country music probably lies somewhere between the two, in that the main character in there is, I mean, you get a lot of interior vision, but there's a lot of external action also. I think I'm less concerned about the kind of interior quality of literature anyway now. It's just a sort of a growth. I went through change in my whole, and the things I read even.
What do you read?
Well, I used to read a lot of Dostoevsky, and now I'd say my favorite book of the last 5 years has been 100 Years of Solitude. And it's not psychological at all. It's very scenic, and it's very much told from an external point of view. I mean, you see the characters moving, and you hardly ever get into their heads, and so there's a wealth of characters in that book, and it covers 100 years in its life of this little village. And that kind of narrative is more interesting to me now than a sort of intense psychological narrative where you really are spending a lot of time inside characters.
Yeah.